And feel the call to full-time ministry, I've got exciting news. Revival Today Bible Institute this fall, September 2022. If you feel the call of God into full-time ministry, a strong biblical foundation is essential. However, education alone is insufficient. Sound biblical training coupled with the power of the Holy Spirit is the vital dynamic duo. God has called Jonathan and I to open up a training school that offers live, on-campus classes to equip the next generation in fulfilling the call of God in their lives. Revival Today Bible Institute's mission is to raise ministers of excellence who deliver the gospel of Jesus Christ in word and in power. Will you join us? Will you join us in seeing this generation transformed by the gospel of Jesus Christ? If you want more information or you want to apply, go to revivaltodaybibleInstitute.com. I love you. See you there.
Thousands of us tonight are on the broad road that leads to destruction. And tonight, I would say with Moses, I would say with Joshua, turn, repent, choose God, serve Him, live for Him. That is the message of God tonight to this great audience of people at Yankee Stadium.
I see revival coming to planet Earth, maybe as never before. It will be untold numbers, an untold, uncounted multitudes that will be saved. The dead will be raised. The arthritic will be healed. Cancer will be healed. No disease will be able to stand before God's people, and that it would be a worldwide situation.
There's a church that doesn't just know about God, they know God. They don't just believe in His power, they carry His power. God will shake the United States of America one last time, not by might, not by power, but by my Spirit.
Guess who's back, 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 back.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Check the Market. Wayne,
welcome.
D&D Investments, Logan, Julie, Jesus Girl Forever, Barbara, Ninja, David, and Michael. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Check the Market.
Also, we got to welcome all the people who aren't commenting.
Yes, everybody
I
else.
always forget that.
Everybody else who isn't commenting. Why not make today the first day that you comment? Just type something in. Just a hello.
A peace sign or something.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bethany. Next to Patrick, you know.
Truth about electric cars. I read a very interesting article
Ooh.
last night, so I'm going to share that with you. Diane, John, Scott, hello, Isabel, Louis, Angie, Linda.
Is Nancy Pelosi in
Wow.
the title just like her own category?
No,
In life she is, but
she's actually not just it's partial clickbait, but
Oh,
still,
okay.
it's she is now being scrutinized in mainstream media for her trades, and
for
so
her
we're
trades.
gonna take a look at that. Yeah.
Nice. Finally. First time watching Linda.
Linda, welcome.
Right on.
Mike, Pastor Mike, good morning. Awesome. Jason in the house, good morning to you. Josh, Andrea.
Awesome.
Lewis. Awesome. Well, let's get into it. What you got for us today?
Let's check it out. This is the president from hell. This is a Canadian HR personnel. We won't listen to the whole thing because it's quite freakish, but this is what she had to say on TikTok. Go for it.
Some rights and freedom that would tell you that. But since you seem to forget that, and you're all loud and proud with your big thoughts and your big ideas, and you wanna whatever fucking set up hot tubs in Ottawa. I'm a recruiter. It's a small industry, smaller than you'd think. Same with HR. So if you're looking for a job, or maybe trying to keep a job, maybe, just maybe, think about what you're putting on social media. Again, freedom fighters. I know you're not really big with stats and, facts aren't your thing, but what I can tell you, what is a fact, is that recruiters talk. And recruiters, like the majority of Canada, don't agree with you.
All right,
Do you
we'll
know
stop
what
it
that
there.
means?
But she goes on for 2 minutes, and that creepy voice just keeps going on and on.
Yeah.
And it's true, like HR departments are generally those at the higher echelons of them. They do talk.
Yeah.
And this, I think she just basically exposed herself because her name is attached to her TikTok account.
Yeah.
And now she's under scrutiny.
Well, now she's gonna get fired.
Yeah, I sure hope so. But like it was just very creepy. Yeah, look at that face.
Is that a filter for her eyes?
I don't
or
know.
Is that,
Something's
like,
up with
actually
her.
her eyes?
Looks like those eyes that are about to pop out and
Yeah.
go back in. Yeah. I don't know what that is, but she's creepy. Next. North Carolina town cancels drag queen for kids event following community backlash. Another victory for libs of TikTok ? So community ended up. It wasn't just the advocates, but this was parents. These were politicians. This was everybody. A group effort to make sure this didn't happen. So way to go, North Carolina. Next. Studies suggest a link between a rapidly progressing, incurable, and fatal prion disease known as whatever that is disease and COVID-19 vaccines. Yet even more data coming out. Pfizer was one group that knew about certain diseases that would arise from their vax, and yet they pushed forward. So just more proof. Be careful what you put in your body. Next. 6-year-old gorilla Kimani from Calgary Zoo suffering from serious form of quickly spreading pediatric liver cancer not seen before in such a young gorilla. She was COVID jabbed 3 months ago. This is from Canada. So, PETA, wherever you are, any PETA lovers out there, PETA.
My question is, right, if you're such a benevolent nation like Canada, we're so benevolent, we love everybody, the whole world, how come people in Africa don't have access to the COVID vaccine?
Well, a bunch
right?
of the nations were rejecting them.
But yes, but I'm just saying, like, logically.
In general, yeah.
In general, why? Because they have to pay for them.
Yep.
So why doesn't a benevolent country like Canada, instead of vaccinating gorillas and vaccinating monkeys and zoo animals, why don't they send them there?
They were, okay, so that's a good point. They were sending them there, but then the nations still rejected them. And I think that's why we're seeing like multiply millions, hundreds of millions of them having to be tossed out.
I see.
Because there's like US, Canada. Well, if Africans aren't going to use them, put them in gorillas.
Yeah, no,
That's
they're
what
not.
we use.
They're not going to use them. But I'm just saying, like, you're making those nations pay for them.
Yep.
When, a lot of them can't afford them,
Yeah.
and you're such a benevolent nation, and with all the, I'm just thinking like logically, it's all just lip service.
Yes, absolutely.
You're not such a benevolent nation as you make yourself out to be.
Yes,
Canada
or the world
and
perceives you
Western
to
Europe
be.
and Western Europe and
totally,
the,
totally, absolutely. Next. CDC quietly removes mask recommendation for monkeypox prevention. Just an update for everybody. They were pushing this for about a week.
Mask recommendation.
Yeah, they literally put it up on their website for about, I think it was less than a week. And I was like, this is so dumb. So dumb. But that's gone. So just an update for you. Next.
Jeez.
If you know how monkeypox is spread, mask ain't gonna stop anything. Breaking: Soros DA Chesa Boudin recalled in San Francisco. So let's see a little bit of this article. Or do we just have the headline? I think that's all we have. But I wanted to point out that there are several DAs, one of which is in Philadelphia, Kessner, who needs to be recalled. And if it could happen in San Francisco, I think it can happen here. It can happen in New York. It can happen in Chicago, Illinois, where there's various George Soros funded DAs who are installed intentionally, who are very soft on crime. So if San Francisco can do it, anybody can do it, honestly. Next. From Liz Wheeler, holy cow, San Fran recalled DA Chesa Boudin, 61% to 39%. It's almost like when you allow burglaries and carjackings and open-air drug use and public urination and no cash bail and fail to prosecute violent criminals, all voters, conservative and liberal, hate you. Hello, 2022 midterms.
Uh-oh.
Fair enough. Next. Actually, the one thing on this dude in particular that I'm interested in is not only has Hungary doubled down on their ban of George Soros from their nation and their any kind of influence like his open society, but American voters are now aware on the more local level as to what he's doing and these crooked politicians, crooked DAs. So I'm very interested to see on the federal level if people don't start cracking down on his George Soros's organizations, foundations, funding of the mass legal migration of individuals and invasion, really, into the United States. It's slowly I'm slowly seeing pockets of it pop
Yeah, but
up.
they're still getting money from him.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So I think as long as money talks.
But I'm seeing it. It's just a trend I'm seeing.
People are waking up to it.
Slowly
So
waking up.
It doesn't matter how much he spends. A lot of them will reject an individual because they're being funded by them.
Yes.
Especially in the more like conservative rural areas where he has been funding school board elections and things like that. Or
Yes.
not him, but his
Organizations.
His organizations.
Foundations. Yeah, exactly. Next. Breaking: voters in San Francisco have voted decidedly to recall Boudin in a shock humiliation for the far-left district attorney who rose to victory in 2019 on Soros campaign money. Again, this is just more and more. But interesting to note, like we look at Klaus Schwab and his background with his parents, particularly his father and his ties directly into the Nazi Party. But then you look at this guy, and his parents were part of the underground, I think, underground water something or other. It's labeled as a domestic terrorist group in the United States.
Yeah.
And so I find it very interesting that specific people are being preyed upon based upon their backgrounds, their parents' backgrounds, and being raised into these positions of authority and power, and then being given everything basically. But even still, the American people are awake to it, and then they're standing up. So way to go, America. Next.
What we call a grind, right? Major indices, they've had a tough time sort of maintaining that early move, especially the NASDAQ, as higher buying yields always erode those strong starts. That's one thing you want to watch. But, for all the reasons to think we might be putting in a tech bottom, I want you to take a look at the account of Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Representative Pelosi just bought a total of 50 out-of-the-money calls on Apple, 150 out-of-the-money calls on Microsoft. Now, the two transactions totaled anywhere between $1 and a little bit over $2 million. One would say it's the kind of bet that one would make if they were a greedy capitalist, right? In fact, you would make a capitalist blush And then, of course, a professional poker player would also blush because the timing always seems to be so impeccable when it comes to Nancy Pelosi trades. In fact, take a look at Apple's buy. Look where it is. This buy here for an Apple in the blue, the buy for Microsoft in the orange. Pretty good move since then. Maybe Nancy Pelosi knows something we do not know, or maybe runaway inflation has her nervous as well. Between her and her husband's gas-guzzling Porsche, and of course that house with a carbon footprint of a football stadium right at kickoff time, maybe she needs the extra bucks. Maybe that's why she's taking the extra risks. Sadly, though, not many of us can follow her. Not many Americans have the same luxury that she has. And I got to tell you something. People are upset about it. They do not like the idea of these folks in Washington, D.C. being able to make gargantuan bets like this, particularly when they have information.
Wow.
Interesting. That's Fox Business. That's Charles Payne from Fox Business. Yeah, talking about that on air.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? Slight redemption for Fox News there. Actually airing that.
So I thought.
Interesting.
But he's a good guy.
Yes, he
like
is.
if you follow him on Twitter, there's a lot of times where he tweets good stuff.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I thought it was funny that he brought that up, and it's true, they did buy at the right time, right there at the bottom.
It's like all these politicians always just before.
But then they have 30 days to disclose it. So I think that, she said that she didn't, that because we are a capitalist society, that Congress, Congress senators and congressmen, congresswomen, whoever, they should be allowed to trade, which I agree with. You should be. But then it should be disclosed immediately.
Immediately. Totally agree.
Because a lot of them, they wait 30 days, and then some of them don't even disclose it for 90 days.
Yeah.
And then, they get a warning or something like that.
Slap on the wrist.
Yeah. No,
that's all.
That should not happen. Because if you're trading, if you put Martha Stewart in jail for insider trading.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But yeah, she does have to trade because, her husband did get, DUI, so I'm
Got
sure
busted.
that.
Yeah. Poor
There's
guy.
a lot of fees that come with that. All
Sad
right,
life.
next. Costco and 5 more stocks that can steer clear of Target's mess. Let's see it. Just last month, Target sent the retail sector into a tailspin with its disappointing earnings and forecast. On Tuesday, it was feeling of deja vu with yet another guidance cut from the big box retailer weighing on it and its peers. In the rush to sell, some stronger names were unfairly trampled. Bloated inventory was the main culprit, as Target is using additional discounts and order cancellations to try and get the levels under control. The company's revised outlook is notable because it came just 3 weeks after already lowered expectations, making investors worry that management is still behind the 8 ball. It also hit just days after Walmart Investors Day, when that company noted that inventory remained elevated, but it was able to reiterate rather than lower its forecast. Continue. Retailers make mistakes and Target management just got it wrong, says Eric Whiteman, senior wealth advisor and partner with XML Financial Group. I don't think investors should go out and sell off things like Lululemon and Macy's. They're not in the same business and they didn't make the same mistakes. Some headwinds, but Lululemon is raising their costs 10%.
Really?
Yep, across the board.
Across the board?
Yes.
Whew. All right.
They're not in the same business and they didn't make the same mistakes. Some headwinds, like rising transportation costs, are nearly universal in the industry, but not all companies are dealing with Target's issues. So they're saying even though some of these companies got hit pretty hard, Target, Walmart, Lululemon, Macy's, they all this consumer discretionary got hit really hard. But there are some good ones out there that didn't make the mistakes in inventory, like Lululemon and Macy's. Continue. Of course, the worry is that efforts by big retailers to fix their mistakes could reverberate throughout the industry. There's a prisoner's dilemma, says David Silverman, senior director at Fitch. Even if a retailer bought an appropriate level of inventory, they may be forced into running unplanned promotions to keep up with competitive activity. That could present a problem for some already struggling mall staples like Gap and Abercrombie & Fitch, which also sell basics and casual apparel at a time when consumers have already stocked up on those and are focusing on dressier attire and athleisure, which is why Lulu shouldn't have a problem. Continue. But dollar stores immediately come to mind, so Dollar General, DG, and Dollar Tree, DLTR, Both posted robust results last month and aren't carrying much in the way of apparel. As Barron's has noted, in the past, they tend to be closer to lower-income consumers, trying to limit their miles driven at a time of high gas prices, and have seen success in good economic times and bad. And they have been opening stores I've seen more and more Dollar Generals and Dollar Trees open up.
Yeah.
So this is probably as inflation bites, more consumers are going to be looking at these stores to buy some things, Aldi's, Walmart, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, to look at some of these things to shop. So they might actually do pretty good. DG and DLTR. Next. We can go to the next one. Robbing Peter to pay Paul. Apple is the latest company offering a buy now, pay later option. Here are 4 reasons you should think twice before signing up. Apple follows companies including Affirm and Klarna into the BNPL space, but observers advise caution before jumping in. Continue. Apple follows companies including Affirm. After months of speculation, Apple finally unveiled its buy now, pay later offerings this week, wading into an industry that's already experienced explosive growth. But consumers should be wary of jumping into the service and first consider some of the potential pitfalls. Buy now, pay later, also known as BNPL, startups offer a simple product, at least on the surface. A consumer who uses the product to make a purchase can divide the cost into 4 smaller installments, which are mostly interest-free, made over a few weeks. BNPL companies have partnerships with an ever-growing number of retailers, from American Airlines to Rite Aid, which vastly expands the number of stores where a consumer can choose to use a pay later service. The companies make money by charging these merchants a fee on every purchase. Continue. Already a red-hot product, BNPL is likely to see a powerful surge in interest with the entry of the tech behemoth like Apple. Analysts say Apple's BNPL product is powered by the MasterCard network and is slated to be available wherever Apple Pay is a payment option. Payments can be managed on the iPhone itself via the Apple Wallet. Apple did not respond immediately to MarketWatch requests for comment. Prior to Apple's announcement, more than 10% of U.S. adults surveyed by the Fed said they used a BNPL service. In the last year, 78% did so out of convenience and 53% did so to avoid using a credit card. Worryingly, about half said that it was the only way they could afford their purchase. Now this is something that's interesting to me. This is why Apple's doing it. They're probably positioning themselves so that even if there is a downturn economically, they're able to keep up and still sell product because they offer a buy now, pay later program.
Yeah.
But I think that's just a sign of an economy that is not doing too well.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense.
BNPL was more common among people with lower incomes and less education, the Fed detailed in its 21 report. Continue. So I guess they're doing this in the name of equity.
Markets are very open.
Markets are open.
They are open.
Ding, ding, ding. Markets are open. There we go. And the markets are down. Dow Jones down 207 points. NASDAQ down 47 points. And the S&P down 23 points. Apple is up. Tesla is up 727. Oil is over $120 a barrel. Which I don't know if I sent this article in, but I read an article this morning that said that 140 is going to be like the next level.
Really?
So if it hits 140, that's where there's going to be more of a possibility of recession at that point.
Well, yeah, no, if it hits 140, absolutely.
That's what they're saying. But then again, if we listen to all the analysts, we'd never make any money.
It's true.
Cryptocurrencies, let's take a look at that as well. Up 2.43%. Bitcoin back over 30,000, 33.79. Ethereum 1,811. XRP 40 cents. Binance BNB is at 290, up 4.12%. Cardano's up 10% today, almost 11. And Stellar's at 14 cents. Dogecoin at 8 cents exactly. Not too bad for crypto there. All right, let's keep going. What else we got? Investors don't view recession as imminent. So Bank of America is really taking an opposite view of the majority of other financial giants out there. You know, Goldman Sachs, everybody, JP Morgan, they all think that there's a recession imminent, but Bank of America is taking the opposite of that.
Interesting.
Let's see it. A look at flows during last week's sell-off days shows Bank of America clients were net buyers, with retail investors leading the way. Last week, during which the S&P 500 fell negative 0.12%, Bank of America securities clients were net buyers of U.S. equities at $700 million after selling the rally the prior week. Clients bought single stocks and sold ETFs. The buying was led by retail clients who bought stocks in 8 of the 11 sectors led by tech and consumer discretionary. They also sold commodity-oriented industrials and energy along with healthcare equities, which I thought was interesting. So it's good that they made a ton of profit on a lot of those, commodity, industrials, and energy, and putting their money back into tech and consumer discretionary. The flow shows a recession isn't imminent, according to the research report. Clients don't view recession as imminent. Cyclical sector flows have continued to outpace defensive sector flows since last July. Consumer-facing stocks have been some of the most battered year to date, with the S&P 500's XLY down 26% year to date. Continue. Consumer discretionary select sector SPDR fund XLY. Continue. Energy stocks have outperformed the broader market, with the XLE up more than 58%. Bank of America's data spanning last week noted despite single stock outflows, energy ETFs saw the largest inflows and the longest buying streak of any sector, 5 weeks. But how long is the party going to keep going? Continue. So here's that interesting article that I read. I rented an electric car for a 4-day road trip, and I spent more time charging it than I did sleeping.
Wow.
Continue. By Rachel Wolf. So Rachel Wolf and another lady together did a road trip from New Orleans to Chicago and back to test the feasibility of taking a road trip in an electric vehicle. She wouldn't do it. She wouldn't soon do it again. This is from the Wall Street Journal, so this is not like...
Oh, this is Wall Street.
This is the Wall Street Journal, yeah.
Okay.
Continue. Or as we like to call it, the Journal. That's what I told my friend Mac when I asked her to drive me from New Orleans to Chicago and back in an electric car. I've made long road trips before, surviving popped tires, blown headlights, and shredded wheel well liners in my 2008 Volkswagen Jetta. Great car. I figured driving the brand new Kia EV6 I'd rented would be a piece of cake. If that is the public charging infrastructure cooperated, we wouldn't be the first to test it. Sales of pure and hybrid plug-in solutions doubled in the US last year to 656,000, over 4% of the total market, according to database EV volumes. More than half of car buyers said they want their next car to be an EV, according to recent Ernst & Young Global Limited data, which I doubt. We aim to make the 2,000-mile trip in just under 4 days so Mac could make her Thursday afternoon shift as a restaurant server. Given our battery range of 310 miles, I plotted a meticulous route, splitting our days into 4 chunks of roughly 7.5 hours each. We need to charge once or twice each day and plug in near our hotel overnight. Continue. The PlugShare app, a user-generated map of public chargers, showed thousands of charging options between New Orleans and Chicago, but most were classified as level 2, requiring around 8 hours for a full charge. While we'd be fine overnight, we required fast chargers during the days. ChargePoint Holdings, which manufactures and maintains fast charging stations, promises an 80% charge in 20 to 30 minutes, longer than stopping for gas, but good for a bite or a bathroom break. The government is spending $5 billion to build a nationwide network of fast chargers, which means thousands more should soon dot major highways. For now, though, fast chargers tend to be located in parking lots of suburban shopping malls or tethered to gas stations or car dealerships. Continue. So there they are. Cost varies, but over 4 days we spent $175 on charging. We estimated the equivalent cost for gas in a Kia Forte would have been $275. So on this trip, they saved $100.
$100. Yeah, but you lose a bunch of time.
You lose a bunch of time. You pay way more for an electric vehicle.
No
so
kidding.
Kia Forte you can get brand new for $22,000 probably, I would say.
Yeah.
17 fully loaded, probably about $22,000, right? The electric vehicle you're probably looking in the 30s, closer to $40,000.
Yeah,
so you're paying
absolutely.
double for it, and you're not even saving that much. But that's not the whole story. Continue. New Orleans, our starting point. So basically, they ran out of. They had to unplug their phones and turn off their windshield wipers at one point.
What?
Things like that. So they they really struggle on this road trip, and at the end, it's a long article, so you can read it on your own time. But she was saying that at the end, she was happy to get back in her car and happy to pay whatever gas prices were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of the hassle.
Total inconvenience. Jeez.
So, as much as they're trying to push for it, they really need to build up the infrastructure before they keep pushing it.
Yeah. Well, they want everybody centralized in just cities.
Yes.
So it would make
that's
sense
true.
for them.
But how are you going to transport goods? Because
Everyone else runs on gas.
If you really want to make this change, then you're going to have to use semis that do that as well, which carry, a much larger load, and they're probably going to need more charging.
Right.
So how are you going to do that? It's going to take 40 days. It'll be easier just to put stuff on a ship, take it through the Panama Canal, and then up the East Coast if you want to ship something from the West Coast.
It's true.
So they need to think about this a little bit more. Next. Carbon removal. Oh, I saw a question there. Can you scroll down on the app? John asked, are you looking at any inverse ETFs? The inverse ETFs that I have traded before, I'm not looking at any right now. I do have some put options on some things, but I'm not looking at any inverse ETFs right now. I have been trading the TQQQ and SQQQ. So those are two that I've been, I guess SQQQ would be the only one that I'm looking at.
S triple Q.
Yes,
okay.
S triple Q. All right, next article. Let's see it. Carbon removal industry draws billions to fight climate change. Nascent technology to pull carbon from atmosphere is the fastest growing area in climate finance. Let's see it. In the past 2 months, businesses and investors have pledged roughly $2 billion to back emerging technologies that promise to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which is seen as crucial to limiting climate change. The commitments to nascent industry of carbon removal have boosted its financial backing by about 30 times. So this is something that we brought up that they were talking at the WEF.
Yeah.
What was that, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
The promised cash is turning carbon removal into a hotbed of technical and financial innovation. So companies are now putting money into this technology. One company raised more than the entire industry in its history. Carbon removal is growing its funding at a faster rate than any other climate sector, a Wall Street Journal analysis of PitchBook data shows. Sucking carbon out of the atmosphere and permanently storing it underground eliminates some of the greenhouse gases that have driven Earth's temperatures higher. That process has never been done on a large scale. So this could be a good, investment opportunity for if there's a company that can actually do this, because, as much as I'm not a big fan of ESG and the money-making operation, there is money to be made.
Oh, there always is.
And so,
totally.
If you can make money, I'll make some money. In the past few months, tech giants like Google and Facebook, consulting firms McKinsey and BCG, financial firms UBS and Swiss Re, plus the royal family of Liechtenstein, have promised to pay generously for carbon that is removed from the atmosphere and stored. Interesting. Continue. By committing in advance to pay companies that succeed, the backers are creating the same type of incentives used to fund research for vaccines for diseases like malaria and for big dollar infrastructure projects like liquefied natural gas terminals. The plans to boost carbon removal addresses the fact that efforts to reduce carbon emissions have fallen short of what is necessary to prevent dangerous changes to Earth's climate. Whatever. The current scramble for fossil fuels caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine has made clear that a transition to renewable energy is a long way away. This is from the Wall Street Journal.
Wow.
So now they're looking at it again because they realize that if they continue pushing like this, they will no longer be winning elections.
Yes.
So carbon removal technologies suck carbon out of the open air in order to lock it in away for centuries. There are a jumble of names for efforts to reduce carbon in the atmosphere. Direct air capture, a common description of the strategy, is one type of carbon removal. Carbon capture, which grabs carbon from smokestacks and other denser sources of greenhouse gases, is related, but seen as different process. Carbon removal is more technologically demanding because the carbon dioxide is more diffuse in the atmosphere.
See, my concern is like, what happens to like plant life?
That remains to be seen.
Like that's my concern, because you have all these greenies who are very like worship the earth essentially, and then they may invest or they may be supportive of carbon capture, but have, just like with various things over the last couple of years, there's a lot of experimentation going on with valuable life.
Yes.
So we're meant to protect the environment, yes, but at what cost to the actual environment will this bring? I've heard about carbon capture being from Saskatchewan for a very long time, but I have not seen anybody asking those sorts of questions.
No, and what would happen if they, because they're going to pump it underground, the carbon dioxide. So what's going to happen? Would that potentially cause issues with groundwater? So there's a whole lot of things to think about, but I'm thinking along the lines of like, investing in something like this, because it's potentially like electric vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Electric vehicles don't really make a lot of money, but people invest in it because of the environmental factor.
Right.
Psychologically, it makes people feel good.
Yes.
To invest in things like that. So if the more people invest, the higher stock price goes. If there's more buying than selling, the higher stock price goes, the more money you can make. And that's the view that I'm taking with this is, for carbon capture, people are going to look at their portfolios, people who are, worried and they love ESG and whatever, they're going to look at this and they're going to make themselves feel good, and banks are going to be like, well, this is ESG,
right?
So everybody invests in it, and banks are going to invest in it to make themselves look good to customers, thus driving the stock price higher, and there's more money to be made.
Right.
Yes. It's just a money-making racket. So why not make some money?
There you go.
All right. Let's keep going.
This is your last article.
Were there some diagrams in this one? Because it shows how they did it. Did they get the diagrams? Okay.
Very interested in those. So I think it's funny. I think it's great. Not funny. I think it's great that you have like my mind is so stuck in like the political, social aspect of everything, and you're like, it's great investment. I like it. It's good.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I'm
like, good kill the plants.
So there we go. The ambient air, and then there's CO2 free air.
Very cool. Wow. The fact that people can even do this is amazing.
There's another one. There we go. So after the filter contains a lot of carbon dioxide, the device closes and is heated up to around 210 degrees Fahrenheit. Then they pump water in, and mineralized CO2 gets pumped into the ground.
Wow.
So that's what they're working on, something along those lines. The trapped carbon dioxide is combined with water so that another startup, CarbFix, can pump it underground into stone for storage for thousands of years.
Wow. So then, okay, yeah, that's cool. So, like, extraction of that, how would it be extracted for future use?
The stone?
Yeah.
You could build houses with it.
Dang. Okay.
Something along those lines. I don't know if this is going to materialize. I mean, it's a grand, it's a grand
cool,
project.
It's a cool concept.
But yeah, it's a cool concept, but still.
Nice.
I'll take a look to see if I can find some companies that are doing this. Is there more in that article? So Climeworks AG, a Swiss company whose Iceland facility is one of the world's only operational projects, privately raised $650 million. That's more than the entire industry raised in its history. So there's one right there.
Wow.
Other upstarts recently raised tens of millions from investors, including Bill Gates, of course, Breakthrough Energy Ventures, and an innovation competition bankrolled by Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is getting into it too. Even though him and Bill Gates are having an epic feud.
It's great.
The money is fueling a race among startups to develop new removal methods. Some, like Climeworks, build machines that bring air into contact with chemicals that absorb and transform the carbon dioxide so it can be stored underground. Others envision accelerating natural processes that lock up carbon in rocks or in oceans. So that's interesting. Interesting. I'm going to have to look to see if there's companies that are publicly traded. And I did take a look at some bond funds. So I didn't find a 100% pure bond fund that I liked. There are a couple here. BND, Vanguard Total Bond Market Fund ETF, Index Fund ETF. Most bond funds have gotten hammered recently. But take a look, see if you want to buy the dip on that. And then IUSB, the iShares Core Total USB Bond Market ETF, is another one that's that has a large amount of assets. So I know somebody asked about bond funds yesterday. Here are two that I'm invested in. FAGIX, the Fidelity Capital and Income Fund. This is a mutual fund that invests in equities and in high-risk bonds. So this is more of a high-risk one. The fund invests in equity and debt securities, invests in both foreign and domestic companies. It has a 5-star Morningstar rating and returns of around 9.78% since inception. It is considered a little high risk, but over the past 10 years, I've seen some good returns. This is one that I got in when I worked for Geico. And I've just kept it. I never sold it. Yeah, way back when, 10 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I've never sold it, and it's just like slowly been increasing. There's been years where it went down a little bit, but it's just slowly been increasing. So it's one of those, at 9.78% since inception, it's just going to keep, doubling at about every 6 years, 6.5 years, 6 years, it's going to keep doubling. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So that's one that I'm invested in. That one is more of like a long term. I mean, I'm not going to sell it. I'm just going to keep it forever. And then VSCGX is another one that I'm in, the Vanguard Life Strategy Conservative Growth Fund. This is also a mutual fund that seeks capital appreciation, 40% in equity, so stocks, and 60% in bonds. 0.12% expense ratio, so it's very low, which Vanguard, a lot of their expenses are very low. And it's had an average yield of 6.54% since inception in 1994.
Wow.
So that's almost 7%, which means that your money is going to double every 7 years. But these are ones that I would get in and then stay in for a long time. So those are some that you can take a look at. There's some pure bond funds, IUSB, BND, and then there's some that are mutual funds that have allocations towards equities and bonds. Those are some that I'm in. I'm not invested in any pure bond fund. I have invested in bonds before, but not in any bond funds, ETFs. So whoever asked that, this was for you. I'll take a look at some ETFs for tomorrow, and there's a couple more stocks I need to take a look at. Not ETFs. If there's any publicly traded carbon capture organizations. All right. Were there any questions? Anybody have any questions? All right, if you'd like to invest in Revival today, we'll give you an opportunity to do that now. Here are the ways to give. Hashtag donate on Facebook, text RT to 50155. $sign RT give, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Cryptocurrencies. You can scan that QR code if you'd like to donate cryptocurrencies. Revival Today for checks. Revival Today, P.O. Box 7, Prosperity, Pennsylvania, 15329. And then don't forget to claim your... what are we doing for offer? How to make money in stocks. This is for anybody who's new, who's watching, who's new, who's interested in getting invested in stocks. This is one of the best books, and this is on almost every investor's top 10 for, value investing, how to get started in making money in stocks, by William J. O'Neill. So we'll get that sent out to you as a thank you for sowing today. The ticker symbols, John, are FAGIX for the Fidelity and Capital and Income Fund, VSCGX, Vanguard Life Strategy Conservative Growth Fund, VSCGX, BND, Vanguard Total Bond Market, and IUSB, that's the iShares Total Bond Market. All right, and that's it from us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you share the broadcast. And we will see you tomorrow. Go ahead and say it.
Go out there and make some money.
All right, we'll see you.
Oh, yeah.
Money friends and the CTM crew. Yes. Crypto Island, yo boy. Crypto Island, yo boy. Crypto Island, yo boy. We are the B.O.D. Yeah. Crypto Island boy, yeah. Crypto Island boy, yeah. Shout out to P Money friends and the CTM crew. Gotta hear from the Island boys. Yeah. Big shout out to y'all, man. Check the market. All right.